session now, and um, I feel like we've really brought you through a journey, and you have brought us through a journey, right? So the first class we talked a little bit about raw foods. We touched a little bit about wheatgrass and microgreens and who we are in the industry and like our impact on it. The second class, you guys all got your sprouting kits. Everybody got their broccoli and their radish and their lentil and their mung bean seeds. Then the second class, we actually got together and we put them in jars and we soaked them. And then by the third, and everybody was posting in the group, everybody sprouting their stuff and seeing how they can create life in their own kitchen in just 5 days, even in the city, in the bustling of Manhattan. Then the third week, and we had Doug Evans talk, and he was really inspirational and he was really inspiring and passionate about what he does. You could tell that he, from like living and breathing this all day, every day, right? That was great, right? Put a 1 in the chat if like your favorite part about all of this was Doug Evans so far, because that was insane, right? Then we had the next week, we had Natalia, which I don't even know who's better, Doug Evans or Natalia. I don't know. You can't know. She was incredible, right? With that energy and showing how she healed herself with from breast cancer with eating wheatgrass and raw foods, and bringing it back to self-love and really understanding that all this whole process at the end of the day is honoring yourself enough to recognize and to seek out raw living foods. It's like that is the epitome of health. And so if you're going to be loving yourself optimally as we were born to, then you're going to be looking for the epitome of how to be healthy. And that is what we're doing. And I think that you could see that beaming from Natalia when she was speaking. You could see not only that she has a lot of self-love and that she's been through a lot in her life, and she knows how to carry herself and she knows how to heal herself when necessary, and how to implement and put that discipline in when it's necessary as well. So those of you who are here for a reason, maybe everybody's here for a reason, right? Whether it's because you have inflammation or you have heart problems or you have some type of degenerative disease or the C word or whatever is going on, or you just want to level up and live your best life and you want to live to 105, like whatever it is, you're here for a reason, and you're led by Dr. Tettey and you're gifted with that. And just to have a moment of gratitude for yourself for showing up and gratitude for this process. I feel like we've really been through a lot in this journey, and I want to just take a second to appreciate that. And then I wanted to share a few general principles of eating optimally, right? So what I brought Boo, who is a friend of mine and a colleague and an inspiration. She's been a raw foodist for over 20 years. She's a yoga teacher. She's a raw food chef. She's a beautiful spiritual and special person. And she'll tell you a little bit about herself as well. But we have her here after I give my little spiel as living proof of how full of life you can be eating living foods, and why she chose to do this and how she got to that place. So she's going to share her story once I share my little inspo for you. But basically this is what I came up with, just, thinking beforehand what I wanted to share with you. What's the most important thing that I'd like to share? And I think it's just the basic principles. If I could map out for you the 5 most important things to take from all of this, this is what it is. Number 1 is alignment. So to be in alignment with your mind, body, and spirit, and understand why you're doing this. So in order for it to be long-term, you have to really make this who you are. Now identify as the person who always tries to do what's best for their body. And even if you fall off a little bit, you're never going to stop identifying that way. You're going to get back on, right? So that's who you are now. And that is a really important identity, because once you identify as that, now you're on this for life. You're good. You identify as someone who is in alignment with eating raw, fresh fruits and vegetables because it makes sense to you. And why does eating raw fruits and vegetables make sense to you? Well, because there's no other animal on the planet that cooks their food, right? So why do we? And we want to be having foods that have all the vitamins and the enzymes to properly heal ourselves. And we want to be in alignment with nature as much as possible. So I feel that eating raw fruits and vegetables and having foods that are raw primarily is true alignment, mind, body, and spirit. That's how we get aligned. Does that make sense? Okay. Number 2 is making sure that you're eating foods that are alive. So many of you have been on this plant-based journey, but why do we want them to be alive and why do we want them to be raw? First of all, what's the difference between raw and alive? We've got normal plant-based, which is just vegetables that are cooked, your normal sautés, your chickpeas, your, stir fries, whatever. That's cooked plant-based, which is still really good. Then we've got raw. Raw is foods that are not cooked. That's foods that are under 105 degrees, meaning the enzymes are still alive, the vitamins are still alive. The minerals will always be there because they're like rocks, whether they're cooked or they're not. But the enzymes and the vitamins get lost when you cook them. So that's why we want raw foods. We want to be eating as natural as possible. And just like animals do, they have most of their plants and their vegetation raw. They don't cook them, as should we. So having primarily most of our diet raw is where the healing comes in. And I think a lot of times, even when people go vegan or plant-based, they start just having the processed like veggie burgers, and they have the vegan veggie, like the vegan everything. You go to vegan restaurants and the comfort foods, and they think they're being healthy when in fact, actually it could be even worse, because you're having so much of the processed stuff and the oils that are cooked and this and that. So, I always say to keep in mind the produce mindset when you're at the supermarket and when you're living generally. You're in produce mindset. So when you're at the supermarket, and that's the ultimate choice, right? When you're in the grocery store and you have to figure out what to buy. So just stay in the produce department, and you're going to be okay for the week. Does that make sense? You're setting yourself for success if you stay. Most of your time at the grocery store is in the produce department. Okay. And then that's raw versus alive. Now alive is now the sprouts that you created. So I actually have some sprouts still left. Where are my sprouts? Still left from our original sprouting class. And here they are. They're still okay. And they smell fine and they're okay. As long as you keep them in the fridge, this is already 2 weeks old. They're beautiful. So these are alive. And when you have foods that are alive, there's nothing like it. You're putting life force into your body. And now you're giving your body extra life force. Like, what could be wrong with that? Right? Number 3 is abundance. So you want to be eating in abundance. And I'm sure Boo will touch on that. One of the biggest problems that people have is not eating enough. You think that you're on like a sort of a restrictive diet because you're eating healthy, but it's quite the opposite. You're eating healthy by eating a ton, all you want, unlimited, because you're eating good things. So if I put you on like some type of program, it's never like you have to only eat this amount. The only times that I'll do that is if it's like something really rich, like really, really rich nuts or dates or something like that, because when we're eating raw and we're eating plant-based, we tend to still have the notation to eat things that are high in sugar and higher fat, because those are the things that give us energy the quickest, right? So dates and nuts give us the highest sugar and fat content. And if you're going to spend all day long just eating those things, then it becomes unhealthy. But everything else, fruits, vegetables, anything that's not super duper condensed like that, unlimited. And that's really great to know, because I think like what happens, and I'm sure many of you can relate to this, is, usually around 3 o'clock when the day goes by and you're feeling hungry and you don't check in with yourself, and then it goes to 6, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock at night, and you just get home and then you're running and then you eat something bad because you're starving and you don't have time to even think to prepare something. So eating in abundance throughout the day is key to being successful at this. You guys got that? Abundance is really important. Then we've got structure. So that's one of the reasons why I love wheatgrass so much, is because I feel that wheatgrass is a really good way to have structure right in the morning. And it starts your day correct, more than correct, like better than you've ever started your day. So having wheatgrass in the morning is mentally and physically and emotionally, I feel, a really grounding thing to do. I like to make a prayer on it. I like to really like make it a ritual. Like I am starting my day with a complete love to myself and like being intentional about it. And if you miss it, you start to like miss it a little bit. Either that or starting your day with like a broccoli sprout smoothie or a microgreen smoothie or a shake, something that you feel is very nourishing. And then having some type of structure as well, as far as like making a list together of what are the foods that I'm going to be eating for the week, even with the family. And like, then, making a shopping list for yourself for the week. And I have programs like that. Like I have a cleanse program that I'm going to, if those of you who want to join it, where I give you a shopping list and a meal plan, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And I tell you exactly what to be eating for every single section. And you can do that yourself. You can make your own plan. So that structure for me is what really helped me to stay on it. And as soon as I stopped doing that structure and just kind of being like, yeah, I'm going to just eat healthy and that's when things start slipping through the cracks. And then you start not having those standards for yourself as much. And when you lose those standards for yourself, it's harder to get it back, kind of like what Doug was saying. So maintaining those standards for yourself consistently. And for me, the way to maintain those standards is by creating structure for myself and sticking to it. And then last but not least is support. So having consistent support is crucial. I feel that's crucial, and you're supporting yourself, of course, and that's important. But having this community to come back to, having our community, we have a WhatsApp group that's 24/7. If you're a consistent customer, we have our Wednesday night classes every single Wednesday moving forward that you can plug into. We have our Facebook group that's free that everyone should be plugged into. Seeing all of your faces sprouting in that Facebook group, there's nothing like it. And it's just a reminder of like, hey, you can do this, you can enjoy it, it can be fun. And it's an everyday reminder that like, I'm not doing this alone. I'm not the only whack job in New York City that's sprouting, So I hope that was a good layout. And then a reminder that I have some stuff going on. So yeah, plug into my Facebook group. I have a potluck that's on July 16th. It's limited space. So if you would like to come, yeah, please do. And that's like up in nature. So I don't know if anybody who's local in this area, like in Newburgh, I know there's some people, those people, it would be great for you to come. Anybody who's coming from the city, you'd have to take a bus and it might get a little complicated, but reach out if you have any questions. And then I'm going to be leading a greens challenge July 10th and also July 24th, if you can. It's going to be a 10-day challenge, and I have a bunch of people signed up already, not just through the HeartSmarts community, but just generally. And basically, I'm going to send you a shipment of wheatgrass and of microgreens and sauerkraut and raw vegan crackers. And we're going to every day do wheatgrass in the morning and have broccoli sprout smoothies and just like teach you how to add these things into your life and give you some ideas of recipes. So anybody who's interested in doing that 10-day challenge with us, feel free. Otherwise, Dr. Tettey will tell you like what she has in mind. I think she wants to do something later in the fall or something, but I'd love to have you all. So if you want to do the 10-day challenge, then yeah, it's just email me at perfectfoodsinc@gmail.com and I'll send you the link to sign up and I'll talk you through that. But other than that, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Boo, who is really like another soul sister of mine. So there's nobody else that I trust more to share an experience of what really living and breathing this lifestyle authentically means in a real way, than a non-judgmental way either. So Boo, please share whatever your heart's desires to.
Thank you so much, Rebecca, and thank you, Dr. Tettey, for providing this platform, and for all of you for choosing to show up for self-care, self-love, self-advocacy, because when we wake up, we realize that we're being lied to and we're being fed. The Food and Drug Administration under the one umbrella is an oxymoron. It's such a contradiction, because they know what they're doing to the food, and the Drug Administration is a business, and it says we've got something to counteract that. And that's not to take away from medicals and doctors, because there is a place for them. but food as medicine, our body knows how to heal. I'll start with my journey, I guess. And honestly, I don't know what led me to to become a raw foodist 20 years ago. I was just inspired. You know, I grew up in London, as you can most probably hear. My father's from Ghana, my mother's from Italy, and I grew up in London. And I grew up on Italian food, all the meats, every part of the animal, but all really good food. My mom made everything at home. And then I just saw people getting fibroids. That was the first thing I saw in my 20s. I saw people getting fibroids. And I just said to myself, we are what we eat. And I said, I want to have the healthiest body possible. And something told me that meat, I had to stop eating meat. And so I stopped eating meat as soon as I had a choice, when I had my own kitchen and I could make my own food. And then I was, you know, regular, just eating a regular kind of fish. I ate cheese. And then I read Elijah Muhammad's book, how Eat to Live. Is it Eat to Live? I think it's Eat to Live. And that stopped me eating pork, cold turkey. If you haven't read that book, it's a very easy, quick read. And then I read, I think this is my original copy of Fit for Life by Harvey and Marilyn Diamond. I don't recommend you read it. It's got a lot of fluff in it, but this got me off of dairy. And also, well, red meat I had stopped. And then I read The Sun Food Diet by David Wolfe. And it's about eating sun-fired foods. And it's similar to Arislam. I think a lot of you wouldn't be familiar with Arislam. I think he's one of the original founders of the raw food as well. Well, Anne Wigmore, I think, really started the movement here in the West, in the US. And I was inspired by her. But this book, The Sun Food Diet, I read it, and then he happened to be in town, and I went to one of his lectures, and I bought so many of his products. He's very commercial, David Wolfe. This is a great book. Him as a person, I've kind of steered away from him. He's become very commercial, and he's basically sells whatever's the most popular right now. But that set me on my journey. And before that, what I found I was doing, so I started saying I was eating regular food, and I know I had a chocolate addiction. I would have, and then when I got to kind of before I went absolutely raw, I was eating egg white omelets with lox, and I would still eat French fries. And I really enjoyed that. And then in the afternoon, I would, at that 3 o'clock hour that Rebecca said, I would have to have a Snicker bar or a pack of M&Ms every single afternoon. I would be at the vending machine, and that was my afternoon treat. Until I said to myself, this isn't food, this isn't serving my body. And I can't live without this, and that's not good because this isn't food. And so I replaced that sugar, that 3 p.m. snack with bananas. I said, this is sugar. This is real sugar with fiber. So that's the difference between processed sugar and fruit sugar. And that is why diabetics can, within reason, eat fruit, because it has the fiber in it, and it just digests in a completely different way to processed sugar. And so I said, okay, you can have as many bananas as you want. And I never really ate more than 2.5, and I was satisfied. Now I eat 6 in a go. My whole digestion has changed. But before I knew it, I was off of processed sugars. And then what Rebbeca said about community is essential. You have to have support. It's such a discipline to do it on your own, and it's not fun to do it on your own. So the groups that the heart group that is being provided, and Rebecca's group, and anyone who's coaching in this type of field, it's nice to tap into those networks and just hear the banter that's going on, ask questions, because we're all on this journey and we're all cleansing at different levels, and we all have the mental work to do to bring us back into homeostasis, as I like to say it, to get that healthy gut flora. And my chief reason for going raw was when I learned about the enzyme factor, and that's living foods, what Rebecca talked about. And there's something in our body called telomeres, and they tell the actual age of our body, not by years, but by our health. And the enzymes and the telomeres are interconnected. And what I read, I don't know if I'm not a doctor, but what I read is that we have a limited amount of enzymes. And so that's why babies have to develop the enzymes, and so they can only digest certain foods. And then elders, because they've depleted their enzymes by eating so much cooked food, they have to eat really early because it takes them longer to digest. And often they have to eat more simply because their enzymes are not depleted. The body will still produce the enzymes, but they've got less of them, they're less powerful. When we eat living foods, we're eating living enzymes, and the foods, especially fruit, can digest itself. And so it doesn't put a taxation on the body, and the movement is so much easier. And when you eat the leafy greens and the wheatgrass, the combination of that, your body flows. You will alleviate so many issues within the body. And so the enzyme factor was my primary reason for going raw. And I was hardcore raw for 10 years. And I had to have support groups. And here in New York, there was a couple of support groups. Now there's so many that you can tap into. And I would say read. So Dr. Greger's book is amazing. His is How Not to Die. And then he's got a really good, Dr. Greger isn't completely raw, but Gabriel Cousins, he's got the Rainbow Diet. So those were two of my favorite books, The Rainbow Diet by Gabriel Cousins and The Sun Food Diet by David Wolfe. Those are really good guides. Dr. Cousins, he had a retreat down in Arizona. Was it Arizona? Phoenix? No, it's further out, going towards the Mexican border, and Tree of Life. And that was, sorry?
Yeah, I think it was Arizona.
Yeah. It was like going to the end of the world. And so he would have a center where people could go. I actually went to his center, and everyone there was like, that was the last resort. Their doctors sent them there. And one woman, every night they had to call the ambulance for her because she was so touch and go. But he has a documentary, I think it's on YouTube, and he shows reversing diabetes within, I want to say it's about 8 weeks. It's either 8 or 12 weeks, reversing diabetes, including stabilizing diabetes 1, which is a genetic, it's something that's innate within the body. But diabetes 2, as we know, is brought on by lifestyle challenges. And it's, I would say, without a doubt, if you have or you're pre-diabetic, just changing your diet, changing your exercise, changing your mindset, as Rebbeca said, you will be able to come off of your insulin. And then also, you know, the high cholesterol, obesity, the diabetes, so many lifestyle illnesses, and they don't happen overnight, right? But they can actually be reversed within a few months if you're committed to your health. And so when I saw the benefits, so I also used to do fasting. I don't do fasting so much anymore. And I would also do colonics because we have so much stuck inside of us. And I would say to my colonist, I would say to him, I really don't like getting colonics. I said, they're not natural. And he said to me, honey, the environment we live in ain't natural. And so that's why we do the colonics. But I would just feel so vibrant after a colonic. And some of them recommend to get them on a regular basis, like monthly or bi-monthly. I would say I now do one maybe annually if I do one. Eating a balanced diet. Sorry, I'm just looking at a question there. Rainbow diet. Okay, thank you for putting the books in the chat. When you eat
And
a balanced...
not to interrupt you, but you don't have to worry about the chat while you're talking. I'll ask you the questions after.
Thank you, thank you. And what's the time frame, please? That's one thing we didn't discuss.
You can keep going.
Okay.
Whatever you're comfortable with, and whenever you stop, then we'll do the Q&A. But you're fine.
All right. So I also now include intermittent fasting. I would say I am in the process of graduating to intermittent fasting. And I have done, just because I wanted to, a supported group 21-day juice cleanse. And that was phenomenal. If you ever have a chance to do, I don't recommend a water cleanse unless you're really sick and you're doing it under supervision, but a juice cleanse, 21 days, whether you're juicing yourself or whether you're buying the juices, always include the green juice, your wheatgrass juice. I did include some fruit juices. I didn't have any sickness, and so I did it in a way that was pleasant for me. But fasting and juicing, you just get a total reset of your body and your mind. And what I will say is, when I can do a cleanse of a few days or longer, the mental clarity that you get is incredible. I don't know how to explain the mental clarity that I get. Your worries are no longer worries. You overcome your challenges are no longer challenges. The answers come to you. You know, there's many religious books that talk about fasting. I think every religion has some kind of fast in it, whether it's Ramadan, whether it's the Easter fast. There's so many religions that have fasting, and I don't follow any particular religion. I'm very spiritual, but not religious. But it is one of the most beneficial things to the body. But in an everyday world, it's challenging, right? Especially when you've got other people to cook for, you've got children, you've got jobs, you've got life and stress. And so intermittent fasting is really helpful. And that is a window of time that you choose to eat. So it's usually a 6 to 8 hour window of time. And you can start with more, right? So that's given that you're sleeping for 8 hours. And then, so 4 hours either side of before you go to sleep, you don't eat for 4 hours. And then when you wake up in the morning, you don't eat for 4 hours. So I have the morning down packed. I do not have to eat when I wake up, but the evening, that's where the challenges come in. But I highly recommend, if you can, to try to incorporate intermittent fasting into your program. And one of the primary things that I do in my practice, and when I'm working with people one-on-one and even in group situations, is the breath. So everything begins and ends with our breath, right? From the day we come into this physical body, this vehicle, to the day that we leave this body, our breath is with us. And it is the most important thing that we do to survive. And it's our first form of nourishment. So we get nourished from the breath. It's also our first form of cleansing. So the breath is our first form of cleansing. And then our lymphatic system is our next form of cleansing. But the breath work, when we can do conscious awareness of breath, we bring conscious awareness to our life and the meaning, and we're able to find that right action versus reaction. And we're able to understand our cravings and our impulses when we can take pause with our breath. And as a yoga teacher, you know, we do this, we practice that on the mat. But I always ask, how much of this can you take off the mat and into your life? Because when we live with conscious awareness to breath, we bring conscious awareness to everything around us, everything we do and say. Our words have energy. And so now I'm getting into the mental aspect of this lifestyle, and what we say to ourselves matters, right? We are good enough, we are capable. Even if we don't believe it, we know that we are good enough, we know that we are capable. And the way that we talk to ourselves often, we would never say that to someone else. And so I really invite you to check your self-talk. That's one of my biggest tips, is check your self-talk and be with your breath so that you can bring conscious awareness to your life. For we are cellular beings, right? We're like with cellular beings. And so this is why we eat the living foods, because they're cellular nutrition. And things like, I personally add a lot of sea vegetables to my diet. I like to add algae, spirulina, and chlorella. Chlorella is a great binder, as well as cilantro. So a lot of times if you have headaches or migraines, ADD in children, glyphosate, that's not, well, glyphosate isn't a heavy metal, but it's a herbicide that is really prevalent right now. How many people, give me a 2 in the chat if you know what glyphosate is. Okay, so a few people. I'm not sure how many people. Oh, a lot. Okay, so you're all familiar with glyphosate. So getting that out of the body on a regular basis is essential. And these healing foods do that. They help to bind and pull the herbicides and the toxins. I love that. I love that you all know what glyphosate is, and you're my people. So we can't avoid it, right? It's and even when we're eating organic, even when we're buying, you know, perfect food sprouts, because the glyphosate is in the air. If we live in a city, they're spraying it on all the parkways, they're spraying it in the golf courses. Any public and state park, it gets sprayed on. You know, I teach yoga in the park, and someone said, oh, there's no bugs around the pond. And I said, you know why there's no bugs around the pond? Because they've sprayed it. When I go into the real country, there's bugs everywhere. You're hitting yourself all the time. But you go into any city park and there's very few bugs because they spray it. So our pets are getting toxic stuff in them. We're getting the toxic stuff in us. And this glyphosate is a hormone mimicker, and then it's a hormone disruptor. And I personally believe it is one of the most prevalent things that is interrupting our ability for our bodies to function properly. The leaky gut. So that's another one, right? A lot of people eat the right things, but they can't get the results because their gut is so messed up, and that's the gut health. So when we bring these living foods into the gut, that helps to heal it. It helps to bring in the good bacteria and the fiber. And then the bad bacteria can't survive. So bringing in, and so seaweeds as well. The reason why I eat seaweeds a lot is because of the minerals. The ocean plants grow in the seawater, has the minerals very similar to the blood. And what is it? There's chlorella and I think wheatgrass as well. It's the minerals that are in the chlorella and in wheatgrass. They're very similar to what the minerals, what we have in our blood, and it's only the center, the magnesium and what is it, Rebecca, that's at the center of wheatgrass?
Yes, it's magnesium that is similar to hemoglobin.
And in our blood, we have iron at the center, right?
Yeah,
I think that's correct. And those, so this is why we bring these in, because these are life force foods. So with the sprouting, right? Let me just check some of the things intermittent. And then I want to tell you how I balance my foods as a chef and personally, so that I'm satiated, right? Because if you just eat greens, you still want to crave more, because our palates have been so corrupted by the foods that we've grown up on. We find it hard to just eat a leaf, right, on its own. Whereas if we were out in nature, it would be so tasty. How many people are like enjoying their salads and sprouts so much more now that they're into the pattern of it? Like, give me a 3 if you're really enjoying it. Give me a 7 if you're still challenged. Let's see who's, yeah, right? It's so, thank you for being authentic and sharing. Yeah, the 7s, I hear you. So what I found as a chef, I've led retreats in Europe. I've led retreats I wouldn't say the one in Ghana was more of a family retreat. And then I've led numerous retreats here in the US. And what I find, yeah, thank you for the 7s. And oh, I love the in-between, the 5. In between, right? It's a journey. So stay on that journey, because it's that resistance that is the challenge, and we are bigger than our challenges, right? That's the mental work, that's the breath work. And also, we're not going to deprive ourselves. So my company is more of this and less of that. And when you continue to put more of what nourishes your body into your body, you'll slowly find you want less of that. And what I didn't share in the beginning of when I shared my story, I meant to share this. I grew up smoking cigarettes when I drank alcohol. And those are both very addictive. And the way I gave up smoking, I said to myself, I did it on a birthday. And I said, this is a birthday gift to myself. And if I pick up a cigarette after I've made this decision, I'm going to be taking away the best gift that I have ever given myself. And I made affirmations. And so when we're having those challenges about how, convincing ourselves to eat something and feeding we've got two monsters in us, right? The good monster and the bad monster. And the bad monster is always going to say, I don't want that. I want that, and it's that challenge of finding that balance. But when we can be with the breath, take that pause, just have a couple of affirmations for yourself, you can say, I can get past this. So when I first gave up meat, sushi was one of the hardest things for me to give up, and egg white omelets. I used to love egg white omelets. I would say to myself, even now, so I also did like McDonald's quarter pounders. I did like those occasionally. And I would say to myself, I have to eat a salad first, a really nice hearty salad, not just a bag of leaves with some dressing on it. I'm talking adding hemp seeds. Oh, I want to talk about nuts and seeds, but adding, avocado and making it tasty. And if I eat that and I still want that, then I can have it. And I never did want it. And so that brings me to making sure you're nourished, right? Because to me, you have to have a fat, a salt, and something sweet. And for me, my sweet is usually carrots, tomatoes. Trying to think. I don't so much need, you can use different spices. But as long as you've got that, then the fat is essential. If you don't have enough fat in your raw meal, then you're not going to be satiated. And I know there's the Physicians Committee for PCRM, Responsible Medicine. They do very low fat. And that, I think, if you can get with that, if you can do really low fat, then more power to you. But to me, fat is brain food. And as long as you're eating healthy fats, then I think for me, it's essential to have it in every meal. So I normally every day will do an avocado, either half an avocado if it's a big one, or a little baby one. I'll do hemp seeds. Hemp seeds are my favorite seed. They're great for making sauces, and they're great, really easy to sprinkle on a salad, and you will be amazed at the satiation you get from adding a couple of tablespoons of hemp seeds to your meal. Avocado, hemp seeds. So I also make my own milks. I don't buy any milks, like plant milks. So hemp and flax milk, to me, is my favorite milk. And if you want, you can add a little pinch of salt to that, or you can add a date, depending on whether you like your milk on the sweeter side or whether you like it more on the savory side. And then you can blend in any greens and make a really nice smoothie with that. And greens, light greens can blend with fruit because it's just like having the leaf of the fruit. I personally don't blend cruciferous vegetables with fruit. I think you're gonna get gas. So that's another thing, right? The food combining. But I'll stay with the balancing the flavors, right? So having the in your salad abundant greens, like you cannot eat too many greens, and chop them up, you know, make them so that they're easy to eat, and have a variety of the greens. And what I have here, so I've got some oregano here. I keep these things on my kitchen counter, and I include, so herbs are a great way to just add powerful nutrients. So oregano is a powerful antioxidant. Oregano is my go-to for healing a cold. I personally actually use the oil of oregano. It's my go-to against parasites. When I'm in Ghana, I carry oil of oregano with me. And the other one is neem. I love neem. More, yeah, I'm trying to think orally in moderation. But topically, neem is a great deterrent. And grapefruit seed extract is also great for the parasites. But for the nutrients and your salads, when you add a few sprigs, a few leaves, this one is a year old. It died down a little bit in the winter, and I used it all, and then it just came back in spring. And then this one is a few months old, and I just take a few leaves and let it grow and spray it every day and give it a little bit of water. And I love keeping herbs in my kitchen that I just put in the salad, and they give it really great flavor. So I think I've given you a lot. I've jumped around a lot. I'd love to see if there's any questions.
Yeah, so if anyone has any questions, you all can start putting them in the chat. There are some things that you said that we can start with. When you mentioned the spirulina, can you explain a little bit more what that is? And are you using the powdered version, or is that a live version of that you're having?
Yeah, I use the dehydrated version because it's cold dehydrated. And it's just, so I actually use spirulina as one of the dressings I use when the salad leaves are always moist, right? When you have the cucumber and the tomatoes in there. And if you sprinkle no more than half a teaspoon of spirulina, it's very dense. And then you can even add a couple of drops of water. Well, I use things like Naa-Solo or Bragg's as my salt, and that's moisture as well. You can also use, if you are into apple cider vinegar, I personally like fermented foods, you can add a couple of drops of apple cider vinegar. So that's the moisture. And then when you sprinkle the spirulina in and you toss it all, it's amazing. And the other thing I use as well is nutritional yeast. I wasn't aware that you can get it live. Is there a place to get it?
We weren't either, but when you said it, you were just like, you like to eat sea vegetables, and then you said spirulina, so it wasn't clear if you're getting that from the sea or if it's the powdered version. So if it's the dehydrated version, as you said, is there a brand that you're buying?
Yeah, that's a whole, I mean, that's, I have a brand that I represent, and I don't want to conflict here. So I'm here to represent right now for Perfect Foods. But you can buy spirulina in most health food stores. Yeah. but you
Is there
can
something
also,
someone should look for, or something it should say on the container, grams of something, or the type of it that they should be looking for?
there's a Hawaiian brand that I like that's in the stores, but
So
I
I
think
don't, Rebecca, do you mind if she tells us? Because you guys don't sell spirulina at,
No,
for
no,
Big
that's
Food,
okay.
so yeah.
That's okay. That's okay. Yeah, go ahead.
yeah. So I, you know, in the program that I do, we have a lot of standalones like chlorella, spirulina, different amino acids, which are essential for plant-based living. But all of this is encompassed in wheatgrass and in the sprouts. So there's many ways to look at it, right? And I do both. So that's why Rebecca and I get along, and we've done retreats together where we've shared the spirulina and we've done the wheatgrass and the sprouts. But I shared my link with you, Dr. Tettey, and you can feel free to share that with the group.
Okay, all right, and then in your description of the raw foods diet, oftentimes Rebecca said it also in terms of like eating as much as you want without having to really monitor it. Is there any caveat to that? Like perhaps someone who's dealing with obesity or maybe has eating disorder, anything like that, where they shouldn't think, okay, because I'm not eating meat, I can just eat nonstop. Or are you saying that the body has a natural mechanism when you're eating that way that you're not going to do that anyway? You're going to be naturally full.
Right. So when it comes to fruit, your body tells you when you've had enough of any one fruit. And that's one of the problems with pasteurization, right? So if anyone is doing pasteurized juices, I invite you to stop, because you can guzzle down that orange juice. But when you squeeze fresh orange juice, you can drink maybe a glass, maybe two, and then your body is like, I've had enough. The mechanism turns off. You can never eat too many greens. So just go for the greens, but always make sure you have a little bit of fat in it. Otherwise you get, so we've got the pH, the alkaline, high alkaline, and the acidic, and the alkaline and the acidic foods. So fermented foods are actually very acidic, but we need a little bit of them to balance out the alkaline, because otherwise we get too heady if we go to alkaline. There's the food pyramid. Trying to think, I think in the Sun Food diet, most of the books go into the pyramids and where the foods come on the spectrum. I think my Instagram page is Holistic Lifestyler. And so I look at it from a whole body, whole life perspective. And I believe I have a food pyramid on my page. But yeah, so the one thing I'll say is with the fats, the nuts, I don't personally do nuts. That's a slow process. I will do seeds. Seeds are equally as nourishing as nuts, but the taxation on the organs to break down the fats in nuts and digest the nuts. And then just like the sprouts, if you're doing the seeds, the only seed I don't soak is hemp seeds, but every other seed, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, remove the inhibitors. And I can just quickly say, I always liken seeds to the soaking of seeds to, like, in winter they fall and they dry, and in the fall they fall, right? And then in the winter they dry, and then the spring rain comes and they release the inhibitors when the spring rain comes, and then they're able to sprout. And so the same is for seeds as it is for, you know, sprouts are seeds. the microgreens come from the seeds. So when we're eating the fatty ones, it's also important to soak them to release the inhibitors, because then the digestion will be better and we won't necessarily get gas. Yeah.
Okay, and you mentioned cilantro is something that you're really into, and I started adding cilantro to my juices last week. I was so scared to do it because I thought it would not taste good, and it actually made it taste much better and easier to drink the fully green juice using the cilantro. So can you talk about the benefits of using cilantro in juice or juicing cilantro?
Yeah.
Or using it at all in the raw foods diet?
I mean, it's got so many properties. Rebecca, I don't know if Rebecca will be able to, I don't have the specifics in front of me, but cilantro and chlorella, they both pull different heavy metals and have very deep cleansing properties to them, as well as dandelion, which is a weed. So dandelion leaves, they're very bitter though. If you juice them, really in moderation, 1 or 2. But the cilantro, you know, it's such a delicious herb, and it's great with avocado. It's a great blend with avocado. And it just helps to balance and cleanse the blood and to cleanse the system and pull pathogens and toxins out of the body. But I know there's specific heavy metals that one chlorella pulls and the other cilantro pulls.
And is it just as beneficial to eat the cilantro raw in a salad as opposed to juicing it?
Yes, yes. I do a lot of blended smoothies. I like juicing as well, but I also will do a blend of greens and fruit. And as I said, only leafy greens with fruit. No, I don't do root vegetables with fruit or cruciferous.
Okay.
On cilantro, that there's a specific antimicrobial compound. It's called dodecanol, and it's like antibacterial, and it's been proven to help to be effective against salmonella. So that's what these types of like really intense greens, like if you don't have access to wheatgrass or microgreens or something like that, then cilantro and parsley, these are like really deep greens that are proven to help. And even sometimes if you're having your wheatgrass shot and you don't like love the flavor or something like that, sometimes I tell people to put in a little bit of parsley or a little bit of cilantro in the wheatgrass juicer, half, and it makes the flavor a little bit different, a little less wheatgrassy, and kind of just like balances it out a little bit. But yeah, even if you don't have it, I've done that before. I've had parsley shots and cilantro shots before because they're so good for you. So definitely you can try that. And we, by the way, do sell cilantro microgreens, which is like epic. So if you get our color mix, there's the cilantro that's in it, and this little tiny baby leaf that has like one little tiny, sprout, and it tastes like you had an entire handful of cilantro. So it's really cool.
Yeah.
Awesome.
And the power of microgreens is just second to none. Really, really powerful.
Great. So for those of you here, if you would put in the chat how you feel about the idea of being fully raw. Is there some kind of resistance in you where you feel like I need to have at least one cooked meal a day or something like that? Something else that someone shared with me is they feel like they could do a raw foods diet or a living foods diet in the summer, but in the fall and winter, they need something cooked in their system. So if you feel that way, if you're kind of like, I don't know if I could do this all day or during certain seasons, or whatever you're feeling about the idea of a raw foods, living foods, sun-fired foods diet, please put that in the chat. The other thing that I want you all to put in the chat is for those of you who said that your sprouting experience is a 7 at this point. Can you share a little bit more what that is? Is it becoming redundant for you? Do you not like the taste? Are you not sure what to do with them? So we can get some feedback from Boo on that as well. Boo, can you talk a little bit about the oil of oregano, and is that something that you're taking the oregano leaves behind you and making? And if so, how are you making that? Or where does the oil of oregano come from?
Yeah, I buy my oil of oregano, and it's just so powerful. It's just a powerful. First of all, I highly recommend you dilute you use a binder with it, like a coconut oil, because it's really a hot oil. And you just need a tiny bit of it if you're taking it internally. But if you have a cold, the oil of oregano will knock it out, especially if you can intermittent fast when you take it. It'll just take care of you with a little bit of coconut oil or olive oil, any cold pressed oil, just so that it decreases how intense it is. Dr. Tettey, have you used oil of oregano?
No, but in the last week, you're like the third person who has said it. So I think it's coming into my regimen.
Yeah,
at some point. No, the
it's an
highlight this week.
essential to travel with and have
Yes,
in your house.
exactly. I think it's like an emergency. You know, I had somebody who had oil of oregano, but also any antibacterial like garlic. Garlic and honey are also extremely antibacterial, but anything that you have that's going to help to kill fungus and bacteria, those three things are really powerful.
Local honey. So
Yeah.
the thing about local honey is the bees are out to protect the queen. And so when the bees are making the honey in your local area, they're making the honey so that it combats any pathogens that are in the environment. And so when you're living in that environment, you eat that local honey, you're getting the benefits of what the queen bee would get. I personally don't do honey, but I'm not opposed to it. And like Rebecca said, it's a powerful healing agent, and it's a nice sweetener, right? I don't do sugar. What will happen is when you find that homeostasis in your gut, fruit will be enough sugar for you, and you'll eat it in abundance, and eat the fruit first. So I hope you all know about the food combining and how quickly fruit digests versus sprouted chickpeas. Like you wouldn't eat the two close together, right? And I personally don't like including fruit in my salads. Some people do. It just depends what's in the salad. If it's just a leafy green, then I do. And the same with dried fruits. I like dried fruits, but they're going to digest a lot slower than the leafy greens. And what happens when a leafy green gets too warm? It gets slimy, it starts to wilt. And so it's doing that in your stomach. And so you want to get the most nutrients out of what you're eating. And so when you eat that food combining, and there's always cheats, right? So if you're at a special occasion or you're having a dinner party, then sometimes the food combining goes amiss. But on a day-to-day basis, try to have a little bit of discipline in the order. Like Rebecca said, having that schedule, having your wheatgrass first, drinking some lemon water either before or after you go to bed. I didn't mean before, not after, I meant in the morning. So either at night or in the morning. That's a great cleanser as well. It's a great pH balancer. And then also tart cherry juice is also great for anti-inflammatory and really producing high melatonin in the body so that you get into that deep REM sleep. Because with all this cleansing, it's important that the body can release it, right? Otherwise, you're just going to keep on, it'll keep on circulating. And so to release it in our sleep, that's when our body really heals itself and grows. Babies grow in their sleep, and elders need more sleep so that they can deal with the issues that they're dealing with. Sleep is vital, right? Our breath, hydration is another one we didn't really touch on, and sleep and exercise, and none of those include anything you're eating, but all of those are as important as what you're eating. And that's why I say it's a whole holistic a way of looking at life, a whole body, whole life perspective. And then even I take it to the cleaning products around your house, that your pets are getting on the floor. What are you using under your armpits? What lotions are you putting on your skin? All of this matters, because our skin is our biggest organ. Is that correct, Dr. Tettey?
Yes.
Yes. And our skin eats. And that's why the glyphosate is such an issue as well. But whatever you're putting on your skin, you know, it should be as clean as the food that you're putting in your body. So do yourself a favor and stop putting, if you can't read the ingredients on the things you're using for your personal hygiene, don't put it in your body. I use a Thai crystal and talcum powder, and I know for guys that can be a challenge, right? You need a little bit more than a watery Thai crystal and some. It's not. I don't use talcum powder. I'm sorry, but I use you know, it's similar. It's like a baking soda or something like that. But it's very pleasant. It's beautiful.
Okay, awesome. And so there's some interesting comments in the chat about eating a completely raw diet. And it's interesting because you mentioned that a lot of this is psychological. And I've been doing the 5-day program with Natalia, who was with us last week. And a lot of that is focused on the raw foods. And what I found is, like you said, being on like the 21-day program that you're on and being with a group of people that's doing it, one thing that happens when you're doing something like raw foods is your focus of the day is not eating. And you're able to sit with, even if you're hungry, if you're doing the intermittent fasting and you're quote unquote hungry in the morning, it's okay. The world isn't going to stop or whatever. I know that my feeding window, so to speak, starts at 12 p.m. And so before that, I'm going to have my water, my tea, and you're operating from a different space of discipline. The window ends at 6 p.m. The kitchen is closed. I'm not eating after that. Some of you mentioned in the chat that you're eating all day. And if you don't eat something hot, you're going to eat all day and all of that. And I think that connects to what Boo was saying about a lot of this is psychological. Are you eating all day because you're actually hungry, or are you eating all day for other reasons? And so, Boo, if you can speak to the idea of the psychological aspect of this. And before you do, one thing I want to say is that we're using the term raw, but a better term that might feel better for you all is sun-fired foods. And if you go on YouTube and type in Aris Latham, it's Arislatham, he talks a lot about sun-fired foods and the idea that it's not raw. The sun has cooked it, and it's exactly how it needs to be for the nutrients that you need in your body. And so maybe the idea of raw is doing something to you all psychologically as well. All right, Boo, so you can talk about anything.
I love that. I love everything you just shared, because before you can make that decision to embrace that, whatever diet you want to, it's not a diet, it's a lifestyle, whatever lifestyle you want to, you first have to have a conversation with yourself in your mind. And when we're telling ourselves, right, talking to ourselves, I have to have this, this is what I need, it's that hangry monster coming up, trying to trip us up. And it's not in our best interest. And oftentimes it's an emotional eating. So that is huge. I invite you to Google emotional eating, because it brings to question, what are you not addressing when you are in a situation and you're like, oh, I gotta have whatever it is, right? And I hear the people who want the heated food. So can you drink, to me, I drink tea. Tea to me is an infusion of something, and an infusion isn't cheating. And honestly, you don't have to be 100% raw. You can do 80, 90% raw. In winter, I'm 80% raw. In summer, it's like I can't do anything but raw or living sun-fired foods. I mean, I've got like 5 coconuts in my fridge, I've got a pineapple there, I've got a ton of bananas. And if you haven't had, I just noticed my freezer was open. If you haven't had frozen banana ice cream, please treat yourself and make it. Cut up the bananas, peel them, cut them up, and just freeze them. And you can just bite into them. You can just have bite-sized pieces. Or if you want to get fancy, you can blend them and then drizzle some of your favorite fruit sauce on it. That is the best dessert if you've got a sweet tooth. But the emotional eating and wrapping our head around it is, what have we inherited? So I talk about this a lot, right? From our ancestors. And a lot of us say, well, this is how I grew up. This is the food that our heritage. This is how we celebrate life. So I ask you, if you're taking on that food, are you also taking on that lifestyle? Are you walking everywhere like our ancestors did? Are you washing your clothes by hand? Are you going and working in the field? We did so much labor back in the day that we needed all those heavy starches, we needed heavy foods, we needed that bowl of rice. When I'm in Ghana, my family eat a bowl of rice for breakfast. And they're like, yes, I want belly full, And but in the West, unless you're doing manual labor, be careful of your carbs, because carbs we often eat them for emotional satisfaction, because it releases the different hormones, right? So to me, I bring it back to the breath. When we breathe, when we're anxious, when we're stressed, when we're worrying, we breathe up here in our thoracic area. When we can take a long inhale, I invite everyone to take a long inhale right now and breathe into your belly. Really take a long inhale and then release it and exhale. And as you exhale, the diaphragm lowers. It gives the heart space to beat a little bit more, and there's less stress. So stress is a reason for eating. Stress is a reason for attachment to food, right? And it's that fight or flight when we're breathing up here. I got to eat something to satisfy me and calm me down, or I've got to have that drink. But when we can take pause, like, okay, I just need to take a deep breath here and I need to calm myself down. Am I really hungry? So the other thing is, if you know it's not time to eat and you're like, oh, I've got this craving, drink a glass of water, drink a cup of tea, because often we're dehydrated and we tell ourselves that we're hungry when really what we need is hydration. And honestly, that is another reason, sorry, I didn't mean to point that, but that is another reason for us eating living foods, because the percentage of our body that is water is, I would say, a minimum of 60% in our bones, and then up to 90 to 95% in our blood is water. And overall, on average, we're about 70% on average water. And so wouldn't it make sense that we eat high water content foods and we drink more water? And there's a basic theory of drinking half your body weight in fluid ounces in water. For me personally, I don't always do that because I'm eating such high water content fruits. And I personally don't get in summer. In winter, I get in more water. So just look at how much water content foods you're eating. A lot of leafy greens and fruits, apples, oranges, watermelons, any melons, all the leafy greens, the content is water. And this is why they're nourishing to our body. And then they've got all the minerals and the vitamins that we need to make up our cells. And they're cellular food, and we're cellular beings. And when we're eating cooked food, it's often, I have this saying in the West, we're overfed and undernourished. And so we fill our body with heavy, dense food that isn't nutrient dense. And then our body says a few hours later, I'm hungry, you didn't feed me. When you know your belly's full, but you haven't had the nourishment from the greens and the minerals. And so, I don't know, I hope that made sense and speaks to why we, or how we can approach emotional eating or cravings.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. And again, I think knowing your why, like why are you doing this? What is your purpose for doing it? Because someone mentioned in the chat, what about things like rice and oatmeal? And I guess we might say things that make you feel comforted in a sense, and that you might feel that way from eating warmer foods. So is that oatmeal?
It's overnight oats. So I don't do it a lot, but I did it because this is such a satiating food. And again, so you buy the most dense rolled oats, right? Not quick serve oats. But this is a good emergency food if you feel like you need something more satiating. It's not raw because they have to heat the oats to roll them out, but it's very nourishing, and it's very it's not got any gluten in it. Oats don't have gluten in them. And some people do them and some people don't. But I thought I would share some soaked overnight oats. And then also I have sea moss here. So that's a whole other conversation. This is like the raw sea moss is floating in there. Let's see if I can get a... This has been soaking for a little while, and I don't refrigerate it. I leave it on my countertop, but that's the sea moss right there. And then I just put a little bit of that in my smoothie in the morning, and it's so nourishing. You're getting so many minerals there. Sea moss is an ocean vegetable, and it's also a thickener. I can't think of the word I'm looking to use there, but sea moss is great and very satiating in if you do a blended food. But also,
I'm glad you brought up the sea moss, because that's our next session after the break next week. On July 12th will be sea moss, and then on July 19th will be food combining and herbs. So everything that you said tonight will be our upcoming session. So that's awesome. And
I hope you're going to make your own sea moss, right?
Yeah, so we'll have the option from the person who's presenting to buy it raw, and she'll show us, I guess, the method that you're using as well to be able to do it that way. So that'll be exciting on July 12th to do that also. So you mentioned parasites when you were talking earlier. Can you explain more what the parasites are and the protocol that you were mentioning about them, like what you do for that?
Ooh, so, you know, we often don't know that we've got parasites, and the bad bacteria in our gut, and it's often what's throwing us off. It's often so that's when we have the cravings, it's often the bad bacteria in the gut that's craving these, you know, fried foods or whatever your craving is that isn't serving your body. It's the bacteria. And so I bring that back to when our breath determines the hormones that get released in our gut. And it's that gut-brain connection. So again, I have a specific program that I use for pulling the parasites out, a parasite cleanse. But when you feed the right nutrients into the system, the parasites can't thrive. And adding the oil of oregano, they can't live in that environment. Grapefruit seed extract. So GSC, grapefruit seed extract. I absolutely love this. And the light's kind of, there we go. This one is by Nutribiotics. I've used this for decades. When I was younger, I used to travel to Nigeria and Ghana a lot. When you eat roadside food, sugarcane and different things that have been peeled by the locals, I've had dysentery, like where I thought I was gonna die. And at the time I had to take regular medication. I wasn't in this lifestyle. I had no idea what was going on. I don't do malaria. I don't do any, I do the basic shots to get into the country, and that's it. I don't take malaria tablets or anything, but I'll use the neem. And this GSC is great for parasites, and the oil of oregano. I have, as I said, I have a separate parasite cleanse that I do in a program that we work with. So I don't have a protocol outside of that, but just those two alone will help you neutralize the gut. The GSC and the oil of oregano, they're my go-to outside of any program that I do. And this, it says, don't put it directly on your tongue. It's in glycerine. It's literally, it just, yeah. And I can, I'll just do that and take it like that. It doesn't taste bad or anything. You're meant to take it with water, and you should drink water after it, but it's just so powerful. So that's what I use. I don't know, you know, how do you know if you've got parasites? Well, when you're craving the wrong things, when your skin is erupting, there's major digestion issues. You're eating too much, right? Because you're feeding the parasites. That's when you know that you've got a gut issue and you need to balance out. So oftentimes when you've got really bad cravings for foods that don't serve you, you're not feeding yourself, you're feeding the parasites, because there's more of them in your body than there is actual cells that make up your body. The parasites control, not the parasites, the bacteria in our gut control our body. We're bacteria. We're living bacteria, and you've either got healthy bacteria or you've got unhealthy bacteria.
There are two questions in the chat about sprouted oats. Are those okay to use?
If you feel you need them, you know, I think it's better to go lighter and be more green. But in winter, I will have overnight oats. Absolutely. And I'll soak some dried fruits in them, because dried fruits are okay with that kind of heavier I don't think oats are a grain, but that kind of heavier food, because the dried fruits digest slower and so do the oats digest slower. There's 2 other grains. So quinoa can be sprouted. That's a grain that's very satiating. And I just started working, Dr. Tettey, you might know this one, is Fiona. Are you familiar with that grain? It's from
No,
Nigeria.
I'm not. No.
Yeah, it's a grain that I was just introduced to by a Nigerian friend of mine, and it literally cooks in 2 minutes. It literally, like, you can soak it. So to me, foods that cook really quickly, like if you're going to have like if you want something cooked in winter, I do red lentils. They cook in less than 10 minutes. And so you want foods that are not taking forever to cook and not heavy to break down. And these, I just sprouted these, not these in here, but I didn't realize that you can sprout red lentils. And I was over the moon when I saw their little tails grow. Has anyone ever sprouted red lentils? I'm curious, because I had a first with that. My favorite lentil to sprout are the French lentils. The green lentils, yeah, they're heavier. But when you look at the red lentils, they've actually got a little white thing at the end of them. And when you soak them, it grows. And they were absolutely delicious. They were very nutty in flavor. I millet this morning and was full all day. Yeah, so sometimes we need that, right? Especially as we're transitioning, because we're retraining our systems. And it's not about deprivation. It's not about, if you don't feel good about it, it's very hard to do it. But be sure you're having that conversation with yourself and you're not reacting, and that you're actually taking time to find right action, and that you're rational in your decision. Because sometimes we act on emotion. But as long as you've had that conversation with yourself, you've come back to your why. As Dr. Tettey said, when we remind ourselves why we're doing this, I don't want to live forever. Maybe I do. I want to live the best quality life I can. I want to go out in my sleep with my brain intact. I don't want to have Alzheimer's. So sugar, if anyone has a sugar addiction, it's neurodegenerative. Excitotoxins. If you're buying packaged foods, they have, I did a post on it. I wish I had brought up the notes from that. So right now they put it, so MSG is an excitotoxin, and they put it in food so that it makes it more appealing to us. And a lot of sugary foods have excitotoxins in them. And we need excitotoxins, but our body has a way of balancing it out. When we get these additive ones into our system, it messes with our neurotransmitters. And it is the precursor for Parkinson's, Alzheimer's, and any neurodegenerative situation. Sugar is the worst drug. Like as I shared with you, I was on M&Ms and Snicker bar. I had to have them. Oh, and Diet Coke. Diet Coke, I forgot to add that. Diet Coke, M&Ms, and a Snicker bar. That was my afternoon fix. And I could not break it until I decided I wanted to break it. And it's that commitment that you have to make with yourself. Just like when I gave up smoking, I'm giving myself the best gift. And if I take this away from myself, I'm taking away the best gift I could give myself.
Excellent. Thank you. So as we start to wrap up, if you all have any questions or comments about your wheatgrass experience, your sprouting, those of you who are in week 2 and not sure what else to do with them besides salad or whatever else, please share that in the chat. And so, Boo, next week, Tuesday, I think it's Tuesday, it's 4th of July, and people are used to having their cookouts and with their burgers and their hot dogs and whatever else, and maybe now they're doing veggie burgers and veggie dogs or carrot dogs maybe. But if you're going raw on or sun-fired foods on 4th of July, what would you have at your cookout? Or would you even have one for that day?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes we want to be sociable, right? And we want to, but see, I don't have a problem standing alone for what I believe in. And we have to decide whether we want to be with the group or whether we feel strong enough in our belief that we're willing to be an example, right? So I will always fill up before I go and make sure I'm nourished, right? So I'm not requiring any nourishments. Anything I eat at the event will be just purely for pleasure. And know yourself, right? If potatoes are something that you just can't get enough of and they've got a potato salad or something, don't have it. I'm sure there's other things, you know, definitely have a corn on the cob or make a salad and bring it with you, and everyone will be asking you what's in your salad, and make it interesting and tasty. I'm trying to think what I do. So portobello mushrooms are a great, you know, if you're going to do a grill, mushrooms are amazing, any mushrooms. And now places like Whole Foods, they sell the variety of mushrooms, and some mushrooms actually taste like meat. And so that's something that you could take a few of and take extra for other people to try. I make a walnut meat. That's so for meats, when I'm imitating a meat, if I'm doing a meatloaf, like a walnut nut meatloaf, that's something that you can take and make patties. I dehydrate mine though. I have a big dehydrator down here. I don't know if you can.
Oh, you're on mute.
Sorry, I think my thumb hit it. But did you hear me say what I was pointing to?
The dehydrator?
Yeah. So I make raw patties and raw pizzas. Well, I used to, and sometimes I'll do them for a party, but I just like to eat green now. And honestly, if you have that fat, sugar, and salt in the salad that you make, you'll be satiated. And hydrate. I mean, if you've got an issue with meat and you want to eat meat, then you know that's a challenge. I've never had an issue not wanting meat. I grew up with meat. One of my favorite meats was lamb. But I just didn't have an issue giving up meat, because when you know your why, when you know the benefits, there's too much to lose. There's too much to lose if you want to live a full and vibrant life. Yeah.
So should the goal be to be 100% raw? Is that the ultimate goal? Is that the optimal way to eat?
I think that's an idealist. I think living in a cold climate, I don't know really how real that is. I've done it. I love it. But honestly, I think even vegans, we are less than 10% of the entire population. As raw foodists, we're, I want to say less than 3%, even less. And so it really becomes a mental challenge. I think it's the optimum way to live. And if I lived in a warm climate and I could get the abundance of fruit and a limitless budget, because when I talk about, and I am a raw foodist, and I'm answering this in an honest way, because when I'm feeding myself, but if I'm speaking to a mom who's got 3 kids at home and a husband, and I know that this type of lifestyle costs me a minimum $15, $20 a day, how are you feeding a family of 5 on this type of lifestyle, right? And so, is it optimum to be 100%? It's optimum to be nourished and live within your means and do the best you can with what you've got. Because we're not guilting anyone here. We're not, I think, yes, 100% raw would be optimal. How realistic it is, you've got to look at how that falls in alignment with your lifestyle, what you have to work with, and where you're at in life. And that's the real facts of life, because it does frustrate me a little bit when I see a lot of these fruitarians sharing, just a whole platter of fruits and, oh, this is what I eat in a day. Yeah, I would love to do that every day, but the time, the money, the prep work, that was the other thing, the prep work of it all. It takes dedication. And so this is real talk. And I chose, when I was 100% raw, I chose to compromise my work because I was more important. And so that's a personal decision for each and every person to make, how important their health is to them and how they choose to spend their money. Because for me, this lifestyle is my health insurance. I 100% do not get sick. And to me, that is priceless. I need a doctor if I break my toes, which I do all the time because I do acrobatics and I walk around barefoot everywhere. So I kick things, I'll leave weights lying around, and the next thing I know, I've broken a toe. And that's why I need to go to a doctor. I need to get an X-ray. But from a internal perspective, as soon as I catch a bug from a cold, I know exactly what to do. My body tells me I'm getting sick, and we listen to our body. So I hope that I kind of, I gave the spectrum there. Yes, I agree, 100% is optimal. But at the same time, I want to do real talk.
And there was a question earlier about collard greens and can you eat them raw? And I know I juice them, and I know some people use them as wraps and things like that. So what are your thoughts on collard greens? And then the person was also asking about turnip greens. And there's another question that just came in about frozen foods and where do they fit in the raw diet, the raw lifestyle.
Yeah, love, 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 love collard greens. They are the new kale. Kale, at Christmas time or when there's a food crisis, kale goes up to sometimes $4 or $5 a bunch, while collard greens are $1.50 a bunch. And they're big and they're nutritious and they're vibrant. And yes, I use them as wraps. I prefer them as wraps. A massaged kale salad. I've never replaced my massaged kale salad. And by the way, when you do a massaged green salad, it tastes like it's been cooked. If you like collard greens, do the massaged greens, put a nice dressing on it. So delicious, because that massaging of them, it emulates the mastication and it begins to break down the fibers and the enzymes while you're blending, you put some lemon in there, and it all begins, it's like ceviche, right? When you can kind of ceviche vegetables, and it begins to break it down so that they're easier to digest. And that's a whole other kind of food prep, food combining type of thing, what things to mix with what to help the digestion. But lemon on everything, because lemon adds the pH balance. But yes, to collard greens, the turnip greens, I've never done turnip greens. I like turnips. And then what was it? Collard greens, turnip greens, and frozen vegetables.
And where does frozen vegetables fit into this?
Yeah. If that's what you can access, it's better than no vegetables. If that's where you're at on your journey, meet yourself where you're at. Meet your budget where you're at, and then you decide what's a priority for you. And know that what you're working for, and know this is where I'm at today. This is the best if this is the best I can do today, I know I can do better tomorrow. I'll meet you where you're at, but I'm not going to leave you there. And you should have the same philosophy for yourself. Don't get complacent. Personally, I love green peas, frozen green peas. There's something about them that is so nourishing to me. They're high in protein. They go with everything. And so that's the only frozen vegetable that I do. Sometimes I buy those cactus, what are they called? The Mexican cactus. In my neighborhood, they sell those. So sometimes I'll freeze those, and then I'll just put them in my smoothie and blend them.
Awesome. All right. Well, I'm going to add Rebbeca back in. And Rebbeca, if there's anything you want to add to Boo's talk, any last points, and then I'll unmute everyone so we can thank her so much for this amazing presentation.
Well, I mean, it was excellent. Everything that you said is excellent. There's so many questions in the chat. I tried my best to answer them as best as I could. And all of the questions were excellent, by the way, and it just shows me how engaged and serious you all are about this, because they're really high level questions. I mean, just huge thanks to Boo, and everyone will give their love and thanks to Boo. I wanted to share, let's see if I can look at myself, a little salad that I made while we were talking. This has some sunflower sprouts, avocado, radish sprouts. It has some beets and onions. That's where the sugar is going to come from. And then I have some kale. Sorry, Bill, I'm not as cool as you. It's not collard greens. But yeah, this is a beautiful little salad that I put together in like 2 minutes, because I have this stuff readily available in my fridge. And like I said, produce mindset. When you have it all in the fridge, it can be very easy to put a salad like this together. And then dressing is just going to be a little bit of apple cider vinegar if I'm really, really on the go and I don't have any time for anything. Or even I have a little bit of sauerkraut, and we didn't get to talk about fermented foods so much, but sauerkraut, of course, is good because it's fermented, and that's good for probiotics for the gut, similar to the parasites and the mind-gut connection, the brain-gut connection for mental health. Probiotics are essential, and you're going to get that from fermented foods. So how to ferment and make your own sauerkraut at home. I don't know if Boo, you want to say something really quick on that, but you totally can do that, or you can get it from us. We have this really good company that we get it from, Real Cook Pickles. You can get it from Whole Foods. You can get it anywhere. I really like this brand because it's really low in sodium. It's the lowest in sodium that I could find. So that's the reason why I carry this brand. And we also have a turmeric one, which is obviously good for inflammation. So this one's really delicious as well. I
will just add on the sauerkraut. So I make one without any sodium in it. And as long as it has at least 50% white cabbage, that releases the sulfur, the gases or whatever it does to make it ferment. and you really push it down with whatever other vegetables and spices you want to put in it, and seal it and put a weight on it or something, you're going to have your sauerkraut and it'll be delicious. And the water, don't throw the water away. That's a really great shot.
Yes, the sauerkraut juice, the probiotic juice, that's the good stuff. So when I was giving our general of what to be doing in order to be living optimally, like Dr. Tettey was saying, it's about having sprouted living foods so that they're already pre-digested and your body can use the least amount of energy to digest it. It's about being fully hydrated, so having half your body's weight in water. It's about exercising every day. It's about doing meditation and yoga and moving your body to balance the central nervous system. It's having a variety of fruits and vegetables, as Boo was going into all the different fruits and vegetables that she loves, not just wheatgrass, not just microgreens, but having every color of the rainbow on your salad. And understanding food combining, which you'll learn about, but ultimately going at your own pace. So I am curious at the end of this conversation and at the end of this series where everybody's at. Like, I am just kind of curious to see how people are feeling at this point in time. Put a 1 in the chat if, like, you want to do, let's say you want to do the 10-day challenge and like do raw till 4, because that's all that the 10-day challenge is. It's not fully raw. It's just adding greens into your diet. And honestly, it doesn't even have to be raw till 4. It's just adding good things in. Because my whole philosophy with getting started is not necessarily thinking about all the things that you're gonna have to take away, but adding so many good things in that, like, it's like pouring in a glass of water with a bunch of, like, you know, dirt in it. Instead of trying to scoop out the dirt pieces, you're gonna scoop out little pieces of yourself. But if you just flood the cup in with lots of water, it's gonna flood all the bad stuff out, and with abundance of good stuff. Does that make sense? So I love the adding good stuff in. So a 1 if you're like, okay, I'm interested in doing a raw till 4. Put a 2 in the chat if you're interested in continuing to sprout. I'm curious. Put a 3 in the chat if you want to get into wheatgrass and you're like, I'm interested in wheatgrass. A bunch of people got wheatgrass juicers this week and started ordering some wheatgrass. So that was really cool to see. And then this is interesting. So I'm going all over the place, but I'm curious to see what people say. So 1 is I want to do raw till 4. 2 is I want to just start sprouting a little bit more. 3 is I want to do wheatgrass, try doing wheatgrass every day. And then 4 is I'm interested in like doing fully raw at some point in the near future. I would love to do that. That sounds really interesting to me, and I want to challenge myself, because the way that I think of raw is a oil change to your body. It's an oil change for your body, as if it's a car, as if it's a machine. We all need these oil changes, and it's like a reset that I think we all need. And then I guess 6 would be like, I'm super overwhelmed and I would like to take a step back and maybe like talk to somebody one-on-one about it and see what I need to do, or just read more of these books, because I am kind of inspired to learn more, but I know I'm not ready to really implement anything. I'm still like processing. I'm curious. That's 6, and be honest, because you don't have to put it if you don't want to, but that's an okay place to be as well. And I want to acknowledge that maybe you need someone to kind of like, if you have more questions and you want to know, like, specialized to where you're at, maybe you have something specific going on. And I do want to open myself up to that, by the way. I've shared it a bunch of times, and I mean it honestly from my heart. It's not easy for me to like, I have a busy schedule, but I have an open calendar where you can just plug yourself in, and I will talk to you and try and, customize to you what I think would be right for you. And it doesn't have to be wheatgrass, and it doesn't have to be sprouts. It can be like, hey, I recommend this book, or hey, I recommend that, I can, definitely take Boo's information, and definitely follow her on Instagram. It's at Holistic Lifestyler. She's just an excellent resource for everybody here to have. And she's very active in my community. So in the Facebook group, in my WhatsApp group, when you become like a more regular customer of ours, plug into the WhatsApp group, and Boo is in there, and it's so great to have her. There's another person in here, Rick Worley. I don't know if he's still on. Rick, are you still here? He is a chiropractor himself, and he's also been raw. And we were just texting a little bit, saying if he wanted to come on for a moment. If he's not on, that's okay, but he's just a really great inspiration, and he's in my community as well, with really good, more of like a medical, scientific perspective on questions like this. I noticed that there was a bunch of people who had questions on just more like if I have a genetic predisposition. That's a really good question. And generally, like, yeah, type 1 diabetes, that's something that like is always kind of questionable. No matter what, whether you have a severe autoimmune or degenerative disease or not, eating this way is going to be good for our bodies, because that's how nature designed us for. So whether it's helping your body to like prepare for the extra work that it needs to put in because you have that condition or not, it's the way to be eating. Now, if you feel like, okay, I feel like maybe I do need protein because I'm a certain blood type, or I just feel tired when I don't eat it, that's another thing to talk to me or to talk to Bill or Dr. Tettey about. Talk to somebody individually about it, or go to a naturopathic doctor, look at some blood work. If you feel like you're not really understanding it, or you feel like you're not getting what you need from it, there is such thing as an individualized diet. And I believe in everybody's individualized diet. That's why I love to have a one-on-one conversation with people when I do this type of stuff, because everybody's body is different. And sometimes you do need to, like, first of all, not only figure out what foods are best for you, but also like, how are you going to prepare it during the week? Because you have this day and you have to pick up the kids then, and this and that, like looking at your individual schedule as to when you can prepare. Like I love on my cleanse programs, I tell everybody to prepare on Sundays. So like Sunday morning, or Sunday is church for you, for many of you. So it might be Sunday afternoon or Saturdays, but on a day of the week where you're not working, give yourself 2 hours to meal prep and prepare for the week. And then I like to have a smoothie or fruit in the morning, have my wheatgrass first thing in the morning, then half an hour to an hour after that until you have your breakfast. So that'll be either a nice big amount of fruit or some type of smoothie. I throw in microgreen for a smoothie. I throw in microgreens, like a handful of broccoli greens and sunflower with frozen berries. That's like a really easy, quick, and water. That's it. I love 3 ingredient smoothies, something that's really easy. I also want to honor all of you for staying on for this, but what I'm saying here is kind of like the big picture of it. So you're having wheatgrass in the morning, then you're having some type of microgreen smoothie or green smoothie that has greens and oh, well, who doesn't like cruciferous and fruit? We'll talk about that.
What don't I like?
Cruciferous and fruit.
If it's a sprout, it's fine.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I agree with that. If it's a sprout, it's okay. Okay, cool. And then lunch usually should be a nice big salad, something like this, maybe even double the size, with a nice beautiful tahini dressing or carrot ginger dressing, something that's going to be nourishing. I also have raw vegan gluten-free crackers that are sprouted, dehydrated. That's really good because we want to be off the gluten. That's very inflammatory, and it's hard to find really good crackers. There is Mary's that's like in the supermarket. That one's good, but this is even better because it's sprouted, so your body digests it better. So I do have those raw crackers available, and I have little like raw sprouted snacks as well. Yeah, go ahead. Boom.
I just want to say, Dr. Tettey asked about like, what if you've got those cravings, and crackers, the flax crackers or the sprouted crackers are great for satiation. I would live on crackers. I make them in my dehydrator. And yeah, they will get you through. They're like eating bread. They're as satisfying as eating bread when you've got a good one. I haven't bought that brand. I had your caraway ones, which were nice.
Oh, really good. Yeah. This is all my crackers are like almost gone. So this is just a tiny little piece here, but I like to put it with some avocado, with some sauerkraut on top, and then some sprouts. And you got yourself like the most delicious little snack here. The other thing is using cabbage wraps as like a taco. You can use the wrap of the outside leaf of a cabbage and put some avocado on. and put some sprouts on top and some sauerkraut or beets or whatever. But yeah, these are just like little ideas of what a day would look like. Then you have your afternoon wheatgrass. The afternoon wheatgrass is, in my opinion, important when you're in this like cleanse period. You don't have to be doing this forever for life, but it's good to experiment with it because you'll see how cool it is to have that afternoon wheatgrass and how it really helps with cravings. Then the evening is, if you're doing raw till 4, can be some type of plant-based meal, whether it's steamed vegetables or some type of like ratatouille or kelp noodles are really cool. I'd love for you guys to look into kelp noodles. But yeah, or raw, we have really good raw recipes too for dinner. I make like a delicious raw pad thai with zucchini noodles and pestos and all different types of delicious recipes. So you can have fun with this. And interestingly enough, I've been bringing up my sister a lot because she's been on this journey more recently. And she went from like feeling very closed off and overwhelmed about this process to now, and never cooking, to now like actually getting creative in the kitchen and being excited about it. So that's the space that I'd love for you all to be, in the space of just starting to get into the kitchen and get creative. Anyway, I want to let you all go because it's very late and it's time to go to bed. But you all know where to find me. It's been an honor to be here with you. And I'm very excited to be a resource for you moving forward.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Rebecca. Thank you, Boo, for this evening. We are going on a 1-week break. That doesn't mean you guys forget everything that we've learned over the last 4 weeks, but I actually think this is an opportunity for you to really implement what you've been learning. And I think 4th of July will be an awesome day to see what that looks like for you as you again try to implement the things that we've been going over and all that you've been learning. For the people in the HeartSmarts program, we're going to do the raw lifestyle when we do the Turn Up the Heat challenge for the summer. So each week we'll be adding another day of raw. So we'll start with week 1, 1 day, week 2, 2 days, until we get to the 7th week of the challenge, 7 full week if you can, just trying it. And then in the fall, we're going to read Cleanse to Heal. I don't know if you guys can see that. Or if you're familiar with the medical medium, Anthony William. But that'll be our book. You all can start reading it towards the end of the summer. And I'll share all of this in an email, but just letting you know, if you're not going to start with Rebecca right now, there'll also be options within the HeartSmarts program for you to practice the raw lifestyle, to learn more about it before you do, and all of that. So thank you again, everyone. Rebecca, please thank your dad, Harley, for being with us. We really enjoyed him and you and all of this. Oh, something else I wanted to say. For those of you who are kind of looking at your sprouts and they're kind of there and they're a new person, or I should say a new member of your family, and they're just sitting on the table and you don't know what to do with them. If there was something else that you were eating, perhaps meat or whatever, you would do different things with it, right? And you'd practice and try different ways of preparing it. And you have to do that with the sprouts. If you're just throwing them on top of a salad and doing that every day, you're going to get bored with it. And so you have to experiment and try different flavors and look up different recipes on YouTube. And people in HeartSmarts, I've sent you different links so that you can do this long term. If not, you're going to stop. It's going to get cumbersome and it's going to get boring and you're not going to continue with it. So there has to be a commitment to wanting to do it and wanting to have that as part of your lifestyle, and then looking up different ways. There's actual Facebook groups in addition to Rebecca's that are just about sprout recipes and different things that you can do with it. So the more that you invest and research and make it a part of your lifestyle, the less, I guess, boring or not as tasty that you'll find it. So definitely give yourself a chance and don't give up. We're only in week 2. All right. Okay, everyone. Well, the kitchen is closed and we are going to stop for tonight. I just want to share the HeartSmarts donation links in the chat. All of these programs are made possible through donations of supporters like all of you. And so for those of you in the HeartSmarts program, not necessarily directed at you, but for anyone who's joined this program who's come from Instagram, or the link was shared to you by someone else. And if you want to support the HeartSmarts program, any donation is always helpful for us to continue to provide programs like this to the community. So again, thank you all so much. Thinking if I forgot anything, to learn more about the HeartSmarts program, you can go to heartsmarts.com. And next week, we don't have any meetings. The following week, all of you will get the Zoom link for the meetings, but if you feel that you were just here for the Perfect Foods, you can ignore the remaining weeks when you get the email. You're just on our listserv right now. So if you don't want to continue attending, then you don't have to. But if you do and you've signed up, you'll receive the link going forward. Rebecca, do you want to share the Perfect Foods website again and your social media?
Sure. Yeah, please, everybody, stay connected with us. It's 800wheatgrass.com is our website. That should be pretty easy for you to remember. And then our Instagram is Perfect Foods Inc. at Perfect Foods Inc. And I posted the Facebook group many times. It's Perfect Foods Health and Wellness Fam. So that's the whole story.
Okay,
And
great. And if you're not, go ahead, sorry.
Yes.
Okay, and if you're not registered for this program and you want to officially register, you can go to the HeartSmarts website under events, or on the flyer for this, you'll see the other link that you can register for this program. Okay, everyone, so I'm going to take you off of mute so we could thank Boo and Rebecca, and thank yourselves for committing to this program. And I hope you guys enjoyed it. Rebecca, thank you so much for everything, and for all the last minute stuff that we put together. It's been an awesome working with you, and I hope in the fall we'll be able to do something together again. So glad to have connected with you and to build this new partnership and relationship. And Boo, you as well, welcome to the HeartSmarts family. And we hope to do a lot more things with both of you going forward. Okay, so you all are able to unmute, and you can come off mute and share any gratitude that you have.
Thank you so much.
Beautiful.
Wonderful presentation,
very
Joy.
much.
Lots of
Thank you.
information.
And
Thank you, Dr. Tettey.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
You do, Rebecca.
Thank
you. Have a great evening.
Well,
Thank
you.
Have a great weekend.
Have a great
Evening,
evening.
everyone.
All right, thank you. Very much.
Bye-bye. Thank you both.
Have a good
God bless.
evening.
Bye, everyone. Good night.
Bye.
Bye.
All right, good night.
Kitchen
Good
is
night.
closed.
Good night.
Kitchen is closed. Good night. And the cabinets too. The cabinets are closed too. All right. Good night,
Thank
everyone.
Water,
Bye.
water. Good night.
I like that. I like that.